Good evening everybody. Today we will discuss about the working principle of a vertical milling machine. In the last video we have discussed about the working principle of a horizontal or plane milling machine. As you are seeing, this is a vertical milling machine. Here the spindle axis is perpendicular to the work table. In the previous case, in horizontal or plane milling machine, the arbor or the spindle axis was parallel to the work table. All other features are similar to the plane milling machine. This is also a knee and column type machine. This is the column. This is the motor which gives the rotary motion to the spindle of the machine. This is the ram which facilitates the spindle to swivel, and similar to the plane milling machine, the table can move vertically up and down, longitudinally, and the cross traverse is also possible. The three movement of the table and the rotary motion of the spindle. So next we will summarize about the vertical milling machine. So in case of a vertical milling machine, the position of its spindle is vertical or perpendicular to the work table. The spindle head, which is clamped to the vertical column, may be swiveled at an angle to work on angular surfaces. Vertical milling machine is used to perform end milling and face milling operation. So next, what is face milling? Face milling is the process of cutting a flat surface perpendicular to the axis of the milling cutter. In case of plane milling, there also we are producing flat surface, but in that case the axis of the milling cutter was parallel to the flat surface or the workpiece. In this case, the cutting tool is perpendicular to the workpiece. Cutting tool axis is perpendicular to the workpiece or bed of the milling machine. Next is the end milling. So what is end milling? It is the process in which a cylindrical cutter which has multiple cutting edges on both its periphery and its tip permits end cutting and peripheral cutting. As it cuts at both its end as well as at its periphery, by using this end milling, we are able to machine slots, shoulders, die cavities, contours and profiles. So by means of a vertical milling machine, using end milling cutter, we are able to produce various profiles, and by face milling, we are able to produce flat surface. So next we will discuss about universal milling machine. Already we have discussed about horizontal milling machine or plane milling machine and vertical milling machine. In case of plane milling machine, we are able to produce flat surface, but the machine is robust and it can be used for mass production purpose. The vertical milling machine is used for providing flat surface as well as various profiles. But universal milling machine is most versatile. Universal milling machine is similar to plane milling machine with one additional feature of the table movement. In this case, the table, in the previous case, the table can move up and down longitudinally and cross traverse. But here the table can also be swiveled about a vertical axis up to 45 degrees. Moreover, in case of a universal machine, we can attach various special attachments such as dividing head, vertical milling attachment, rotary attachment, slotting attachments, by which we are able to produce spur, spiral, bevel gears, reamers, milling cutters. So, usually this universal milling machine is used in a tool room to produce various cutting tools. Now we will observe the working principle of a universal milling machine. Here you can observe this is the operation of a universal milling machine where the vertical attachment is attached. Here the spindle, it is vertical to the work surface or the bed of the machine, and we can attach various attachments to produce various shapes. By using dividing head, we can produce gears. We will discuss in detail about the dividing head in the next video. You just observe the machine parts and the operation. So next we will discuss about CNC milling machine. In case of a CNC milling machine, in case of the CNC milling machine, that machine also does all the milling operations, but the difference is in a CNC milling machine, the table movement as well as the spindle rotation is controlled by means of a computer. Here you can see this is the CNC milling machine. In this case, this is the spindle of the machine. The spindle is rotating, but all rotations and the table movement is done through the control panel of the CNC machine. So the difference is, after feeding the program to the machine through the control panel, the operator is just to observe the machining process. The machining process is automated. So now we can discuss that milling is the process of machining in which material is removed by feeding the work against a multi-point rotary cutter. This machining process is similar in all the machines, but the difference is different machines facilitate different cutting processes. In knee and column type process, we usually do it in the laboratories or workshops. But in production site, where the workpiece length is much bigger, we use bed type milling machine. So, in bed type milling machine, the bed is fixed. The vertical movement is imported to the spindle head. In case of knee and column type machine, the vertical movement was imported to the bed itself. But in this case, as the workpiece size is very big, the vertical movement is imported to the spindle head. This is the difference. So, this is used in fabrication. in the industry where the workpiece is size of the workpiece is very big. The difference is here the bed is fixed, the vertical movement is imported to the spindle head. Depending upon the number of spindle, these are classified as simplex, duplex and triplex machine. And next is the Planetoid milling machine. So this Planetoid milling machine resembles a planer. You have already studied about a planing machine or planer. So this Planetoid milling machine resembles a planer. In a planer, the table movement gives the cutting speed, where in case of this milling machine, plano miller, the table movement gives the feed. So this is the difference. In planer, the table movement gives the cutting speed, but in case of a plano miller, the table movement gives the feed. Hence, the table movement of plano miller is much less than that of a planing machine. So, next we will discuss about the special purpose milling machine. So, these machines are designed to perform a specific type of operation only. As the name suggests, this is special purpose milling machine. So, depending on the specific type of operation, these machines are used. So, in rotary table milling machine, it works like a vertical milling machine, but here two vertical spindles are mounted with face milling cutters. In case of vertical milling machine, only one spindle was there. Here, two vertical spindles are mounted with face milling cutters and a number of workpieces are clamped on a circular table. Their number of workpiece was 1, number of spindle was 1. But here number of spindle is 2 and number of workpiece are more than 1. So these workpieces are clamped on a circular table which rotates about a vertical axis. The cutters are set at different heights relative to the workpieces, so that one of the cutter is used for roughing operation and the other one is for finishing operation. So this is the rotary table milling machine. So this can perform facing operation, both roughing and finishing simultaneously because of provision of two vertical spindles, and a number of workpieces can be machined at the same time. Next is the drum milling machine. In case of rotary table milling machine, the workpieces are clamped in a table. Here the workpieces are clamped on a central drum which rotates on a horizontal axis, so that both end faces are machined simultaneously, first by roughing and then by finishing cutters. So here the workpiece are clamped on a central drum, and both roughing and finishing operation can be done simultaneously. So next is profile milling machine. So profile milling machine, as the name suggests, in this machine the cutter is guided by means of a guide pin which follows the outline or the profile on a guide block template. So it is largely used for producing sewing machine parts. So by moving or following a particular template, it produces the required profile. So the name is profile milling machine. So this is all about different types of milling machine. If we summarize once again, the milling machine is classified basically into column and knee type milling machine. The next is bed type milling machine. The next is plano type milling machine. Next is special purpose milling machine, and the modern development is CNC, computer numerical controlled milling machine. So by now you have come across about different parts of different milling machines and the operation of milling machine. In the next video, we will discuss about various work holding attachments by means of which the workpiece is attached to the bed of the machine, and that specifically detail about the dividing head and the indexing process.